Good evening. My name is JM ulit and I'm here to give my answer regarding the Activity 2 Republic Act number 8792. President Joseph E. Estrada signed Republic Act number 8792, an act providing for the recognition and the use of electronic commercial and non-commercial transactions, penalties for unlawful use thereof, and other purposes. This is also known as the Electronic Commerce Act or the E-Commerce, signed into law on June 14, 2000. The first part is consists of two sections. The first one is discussing about the short title and the second is discussing about the declaration policy. Ano nga ba yung declaration policy? Declaration of policy contains all the basic information that defines the policy. Basic informations. Stated in here is that our country recognizes the vital role of information and communications technology here in our country, and that the necessity to build an information-friendly environment that promotes and ensures ICT product and services availability, diversity, and affordability. So, declaration of policy contains all the basic information, and ang pinaka-basic ay itong dito nagsimula ma-recognize ng ating bansa ang kahalagahan ng information and communications technology. Yon, Part 2. Part 2 is entitled as Electronic Commerce in General and it has 3 chapters. Ang dami. The Chapter 1, yun nga, includes the general provisions wherein it contains the objectives, sphere of applications, and the definitions. The definition of terms, syempre hindi natin iisa-isa yun. Ibigay lang natin yung objective. Yung objective or layunin nitong law ay this act helps to encourage regional and abroad dealings, transactions, agreements, contracts, and exchanges of information, as well as the recognition of the validity and reliability of electronic documents related to such activities through the use of electronic, optical, and similar medium mode instrumentality and technology. Chapter 2. Chapter 2 pa rin to ng Part 2. Chapter 2 is entitled as Legal Recognition of Electronic Writing or Document and Data Messages. This has wait lang. Wait a minute. A minute, please. This has 6 Chapter 2 has sections 6 to 15. Ano-ano yon? Section 6, Legal Recognition of Data Messages. Ito yung wag na natin isa-isa. Section 6, Legal Recognition of Data Messages. Section 7, Legal Recognition of Electronic Documents. Section 8, Legal Recognition of Electronic Signatures. Section 9, Presumption relating to electronic signatures. Section 10, Original Documents. Section 11, Authentication of Electronic Data Messages and Electronic Documents. Section 12, Admissibility and Evidential Weight of Electronic Data Message and Electronic Documents. Section 13, retention of electronic data, message, and electronic document. Section 14 is proof by affidavit. And Section 15 is cross-examination. Chapter 3. Chapter 3 is entitled Communication of Electronic Data, Messages, and Electronic Documents. This includes Section 16 to Section 24. Section 16 is formation and validity of electronic contracts. Section 17 is recognition by parties of electronic data, message, or electronic document. Section 18 is attribution of electronic data, message, and Section 19 is error on electronic data, message. Section 20 is agreement on acknowledgement of receipt and of electronic data messages. Section 21, time of dispatch of electronic data messages or electronic documents. Section 22 is time of receipt of electronic data messages or electronic documents. Section 23 is place of dispatch and receipt of electronic data messages or electronic documents. And Section 24 is choice of security methods. Okay, so yun yung mga nilalaman ng ating part 2. Let's proceed to the part 3. Part 3 is entitled as Electronic Commerce in Specific Areas. It has only one chapter and 2 sectors. So, chapter, ano na tayo? Part 3. So, yon. Part 3, again, is entitled as Electronic Commerce in Specific Areas. It has only one chapter, and that chapter is divided into 2 sections. Chapter 1 is carriage of goods. This, under nito yung Section 25 natin, which is actions related to contracts of carriage of goods. So, ang definition is without derogating from the provisions of Part 2 of this law, this chapter applies to any action in connection with or in pursuance of a contract of carriage of goods, including but not limited to furnishing the marks, number, quantity, weight of goods. So, in short, ito lang. Ito yung chapter kung saan pumapasok yun nga, yung kahit anong action in connection with pagkakarga ng mga goods, ng mga products, ng mga items, ng mga paninda, ganon. So, yon, Section 25 yon, first section in Chapter 1 ng Part 3. Nalito din kayo doon, ano? Section 26, Transport Documents, where the law requires that any action referred to contract of carriage of goods be carried out in writing or by using a paper document. That requirement is met if the action is carried out by using one or more data messages or electronic documents. Part 4, Electronic Transactions in Government. Part 4 has 3 sections, Sections 27, 28, and Section 29. Section 27, Government Use of Electronic Data Messages, Electronic Documents, and Electronic Signatures. Section 28 is RPWEB, to promote the use of electronic documents and electronic data messages in government and to the general public. Section 29, Authority of the Department of Trade and Industry and participating entities. And lastly, the Part 5 with the final provisions that has Section 30 to Section 42. So, yon, dito sa Part 5, pumapasok yung extent of liability of a service provider, yung lawful access, obligations of confidentiality, penalties. Yan, mas madali intindihin yung meaning nito Part 5. Implementing of rules and regulations. Yan, kapag may nalabag ka, dito papasok yon. Oversight committee, appropriations, statutory interpretation, variation of agreement, reciprocity, separability clause, repealing clause, and effectivity. In short, basta ang layunin lamang nitong ating batas na ito ay, sa objective, this act aims to facilitate domestic and international dealings. Wait.
Babalize ka daw kung gusto mo.
Nagre-record ako, wait lang. So, yon, nilalayo ng batas na ito na mapadali ang domestic. Ano bang domestic? Ibang bansa. Domestic, ito pala. Domestic, ito tayo. Domestic, Pinas. Tapos, international, ibang bansa. Nilalayo ng batas na ito na mapadali ang domestic at international na pakikitungo, transaksyon, kaayusan, kasunduan, kontrata at palitan at pag-iimbak ng impormasyon sa pamamagitan ng paggamit ng electronics, ng mga ganon, tapos technology, upang makilala ang pagiging tunay at pagiging maasahan kung paano nagagamit ng technology ang mga kung paano mas napapadali yung pag-deal sa ibang bansa sa atin. Yon, gamit ang technology. Yun lamang po at maraming salamat.